This is where we had stopped our lecture last time, and we had covered till lime soda treatment. Now the process which is left is zeolite process and some other processes. Let us start with the zeolite process. One of the very important and widely used processes, zeolite. So zeolites are natural salts or clay which are hydrated silicates of sodium and aluminium. The general formula is Na2O Al2O3 X SiO2 Y H2O, and here X is equal to 2 or more generally, and Y will vary. Now this entire thing, uh, this thing can be written as Z. So we write it as Na2Z sodium zeolite or active zeolite, plus now when the sodium zeolite is added into water, or when water is passed through sodium zeolite, and if it has hardness, then this Ca or Mg, correct, the hardness is of either calcium or magnesium salt, right, and CaHCO3, that is calcium bicarbonate or magnesium bicarbonate. What is this? This is nothing but your temporary hardness, right? CaSO4 MgCl2, what is this? This is permanent hardness, right? Or non-carbonate hardness. This is your carbonate hardness. So when your sodium zeolite or active zeolite reacts with this, it is going to form sodium salts which do not cause hardness, plus calcium or magnesium zeolite. So calcium zeolite or magnesium zeolite, like that, or both together. Okay. So your zeolite here is spent into converting your hardness, temporary hardness as well as permanent hardness, into sodium salts plus respective zeolites. Now this zeolite which is formed in this process, it can be reconverted back to your active zeolite, which can be further used. How? So it is reconverted or regenerated back to active sodium zeolite by treating it with 5 to 10% of brine solution. What is brine solution? It is nothing but salt water, right? So calcium or magnesium zeolite plus 2 NaCl, 5 to 10% brine solution. This will give you Na2Z, which is your zeolite, sodium zeolite or active zeolite, and CaCl2 and MgCl2. So calcium or magnesium salt. So after your water has been treated, and you received the softened water, your zeolite here is spent. So you need this zeolite back again. So you can pass water through that. You can pass brine solution through it. You will regenerate your zeolite, correct, and that water will have this calcium or magnesium salt, but we don't care because it is anyways brine solution. So it is going to go out, but while going out it is going to regenerate your zeolite. Zeolite, when the equipment looks a little bit like pressure filter, we have done this in the filtration part. So this is what the zeolite looks like, and it is placed here in this area. Now when the water is passed through it, it acts just like your pressure filter, and you, from here it goes down and you receive the softened water which was required to us, correct. And the other part is that I have already explained you how the zeolite is regenerated using your brine solution, 5 to 10% brine solution. After the zeolite is regenerated, it is then washed by good water, that is the water which does not contain impurities or hardness, and then the zeolite filter is again put for working. So after you pass the brine solution, you have converted your calcium or magnesium zeolite into active or sodium zeolite. Then you again wash it with some good water, which the water which does not contain hardness, and this zeolite is again put to use. Advantages of zeolite. One of the major advantage of zeolite is that zero hardness can be achieved. But apart from this, you know, there is one more very important advantage of zeolite is that you see in these processes here in those, I'll just show you, in these chemical formulas, no precipitate is being formed. There is zero precipitate. Your water is getting converted into soft water, but there is no precipitate which is being formed. In the lime soda treatment, there were multiple precipitates which were being formed in all the chemical reactions, and those precipitates were then further sedimented in the sedimentation plant and later taken out as sludge, right? The major advantage of this process is that no sludge is formed, correct? The plant is compact, automatic, and easy to operate. No sludge is formed, hence no problem of sludge disposal. Running maintenance and operation cost is low. Easy to treat water of different quality, and no problem of incrustation of pipe as in lime soda method. So in lime soda method, we were getting some salts which we had to convert it back by recarbonation process, if you remember, right? Here there is no problem of incrustation of pipes as in lime soda method. Disadvantages: the process is not suitable to treat water with high turbidity, as the turbid content will get lodged in that in that process of using zeolite, the equipment that I showed you, which looked like a pressure filter. So as you saw that zeolites looked like some stones, right? So if there is a lot of turbidity, that turbid content will get lodged in between those stones, and it will hamper the softening process and will reduce the rate of softening. The process leaves sodium bicarbonate in water, which causes priming and foaming in industrial or boiler feed water. So this is nothing but priming or foaming, which is seen if the sodium bicarbonate salts are present in the water. Next is removal of iron and manganese. Now we have dealt with that permanent hardness, temporary hardness and all. Now it is removal of iron and manganese. It has two cases in it. First is if the organic matter, if organic matter is not present, and in second case if it is present with combination of some organic matter. So first, if it is not organic matter is not present, it is very easy to remove iron and manganese from the water just by aeration, sedimentation and filtration. Aeration is a very simple process, nothing much. Aeration means passing of air through the water, or I will give you a very simple example. Just consider a cup which is there. You fill the cup with some water. Now you have to transfer that water from the cup into a bucket. So you pour it from a height. You pour that water from some height. From the journey of the water from the cup to the bucket, in that journey, the water comes in contact with the air. This is nothing but aeration. By some or the other method, you have to bring the water in contact of air. Now there are various methods by which they do. This is a very lame example that I give you, but it just to show you what the aeration process means, right? So there are various methods like trickling filter or oxidation ponds and all. So those are also used for this aeration purpose. During aeration, soluble ferrous and manganese compounds, they are oxidized into insoluble ferric and manganese compounds. So from soluble it becomes insoluble, that is, it can be precipitated in the water, and in the sedimentation plant it is taken out. When it is present with organic matter, that is, now what is without organic and with organic? With organic means it has that element of a carbon and with hydrogen and all, so it has a bond which is there, the carbon, hydrogen and this ferrous and manganese bond. That bond has to be broken by addition of chlorine and potassium permanganate. If you remember, in the chlorination part, it used to react with some organic compounds, right? Some part of chlorine was used in reaction with the organic compounds. So here also it is being used to react with the organic compound. The water is agitated thoroughly to break the bond. The water is then taken to a settling tank and then to fill the unit. Fluoridation. Fluoridation is nothing but addition of fluorine to the water. Fluorine, as the element I told you, is I had told you in the very beginning of this water supply engineering that fluorine is used for to prevent mottling of teeth, and it is good for the health of the teeth. So some fluorine is required in the public water. If it is not there, we need to add it. That is called as fluoridation. Fluoridation is achieved by the addition of outside fluoride compounds such as sodium fluoride, sodium silicofluoride, silicic acid, etc. Fluoride should be given in optimum value of 1 mg per liter, as excess of fluoride may cause gastroenteritis, skin irritation, deformation of bones, etc. So excess of fluorine is also not good. Defluoridation. In certain cases, the fluorine content in the water is excessively and is potentially dangerous for consumption. So the cases where the fluorine is more than required in the water, at that point of time you have to do some defluoridation process. Such water needs to be treated and the fluorine content needs to be reduced. Defluoridation is done by 4 methods, namely, first is activated alumina, known as Prasanthi method. Second is ion exchange adsorption method. Third is Nalgonda technique, and fourth is reverse osmosis process. Let us study all of them. Let us start with the Prasanthi method. So activated alumina, also known as Prasanthi method. In this method, the water containing high fluoride is passed through media like activated alumina, bone char, serpentinite, and activated bauxite. When these compounds are passed through the highly fluoridized water, what happens is that the fluorine inside the water, it gets adsorbed on these respective compounds, and thus it can be then removed. Except for activated alumina, all others have limitations and hence are not used. The adsorption method is carried out at pH level of slightly acidic conditions, which is 5 to 7. Ion exchange method. This is just like the process in which we are removing the hardness of water, that is the zeolite process. You see that in the zeolite process nothing happened much more, just the exchange of ions or exchange of like this sodium zeolite, it converted to calcium or magnesium zeolite. So there was just exchange of those ions, right? This process uses base anion exchange resin in the chloride form. So something similar to the zeolite process. This process also removes arsenic and nitrates. Again, these two toxic metals which are not required in the water. Next is Nalgonda technique. Nalgonda technique is used in rural areas to remove fluoride, as it is economical and does not require much skills. First, the water is mixed with lime and soda and thoroughly it is mixed. Then the water is mixed with aluminium salt, or what we call as alum, which is widely found in the stores, and stirred for about 10 minutes. The water is then allowed to settle for around 1 hour and the supernatant liquid which is remaining is used. So whatever is then settled in that water, leaving that aside, whatever liquid is above, that is used, and that will be without fluorine content. The last one is reverse osmosis. In this method, the raw water is passed through a semi-permeable membrane. Again, this reverse osmosis is used in many of the treatment systems where the water is highly turbid and it is passed through a semi-permeable membrane, which does not allow the flow of those turbid materials, and also some blocks the flow of salts including fluorine, and it only allows the flow of clear water through that membrane. This method, although is fully chemically free, but is still not adopted for villages and rural areas, as it has high cost involved in it and the after sales service of the machineries is bad. So it requires some machineries obviously to pass that water through the semi permeable membrane, and that's it. So this was about the softening of water. In the next lecture of water supply engineering, we'll be learning about the distribution process. Till then, take care.